Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank. Good day to all our viewers and thank you for watching Africa Investor Today. We'll get right into it with a look at politics and economy news. Malawian President Bingu wa Mutharika has cancelled his trip to the Commonwealth Summit in a bid to cut costs as the foreign exchange shortages have put strain on the country's economy. The summit will be held in Trinidad and Tobago this coming Friday. Mutharika, who is often criticized by opposition parties for traveling with a huge entourage of loyalists and government officials, also demanded that ministers and civil servants should travel abroad not more than 6 times in a year, with each trip not allowed to exceed more than a fortnight. Zimbabwe's 3 governing political parties have finally started talks to save their shaky power-sharing arrangement after missing a 2-week deadline. Representatives from President Robert Mugabe's ZANU-PF and the 2 Movement for Democratic Change factions led by Morgan Tsvangirai and Deputy Prime Minister Professor Arthur Mutambara resumed the crucial talks late on Monday. The meeting dragged deep into the night, and the 6 negotiators were also due to meet again on Tuesday. The talks began 2 days after the expiry of a 15-day deadline set by SADC on November the 6th for Zimbabweans to start discussions on a number of outstanding issues threatening the unity government. Regional leaders meeting in Maputo have issued a directive that the talks last a maximum of 15 days. South African President Jacob Zuma, who is mediating in these talks, has decided to give Mr. Mugabe and his former rivals until December the 5th to find a common ground. With that, we take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Redefining energy means redefining life. At the Petroleum, Oil and Gas Corporation of South Africa, our commitment to greater innovation and greener fuels has made us pioneers in the field of gas-to-liquids technology. It has also earned us worldwide recognition for producing the cleanest fuels through environmentally friendly processes. That's how we've become the international leader in diesel technology. Through pure innovation, pure energy, pure brilliance.
In companies and markets news, Anglo American is to sell 750 million euros of 7-year bonds. This is according to a banker involved in the transaction who states the bond would yield 137 basis points above the benchmark mid-swap rate. London-based Anglo is cutting costs and selling assets to shore up its balance sheet since Switzerland's ex-strata proposed a merger in June. The latest offering follows a sale of debt of the same size in September and a combined 3.5 billion in debt and convertible bonds earlier in the year. Citigroup, HSBC Holdings, the Royal Bank of Scotland Group and Banco Santander are managing the debt sale. The notes will be issued through Anglo American Capital. In other news, ES Steel said yesterday its 9-month net profit fell 98%, bigger than forecast, but said it was confident strong domestic demand would continue and saw some improvement in global flat steel demand. Egypt's largest steel producer said net profit in the first 9 months was 29 million Egyptian pounds compared to 1.5 billion pounds in the same period last year, missing 2 forecasts for the 9-month period. The 9-month profit compared to the previously reported first half net of 101 million pounds indicates a third quarter loss of 72 million. The average third quarter forecast from 5 analysts was a profit of 14.2 million pounds. ES Steel blamed the fall in 9-month net profit on slow global demand and declining steel prices, but said its new production facilities and a robust domestic market would boost results going forward. And as we move on to news from the worlds of banking and finance, we take a short break. We'll be right back.
Afrexim Bank is Africa's leading trade finance bank, an organization dedicated to promoting African trade through credit, risk-bearing and advisory services. We pride ourselves on having local presence throughout the continent and are committed to extending our award-winning trade and project finance programs to unlock private sector development continent-wide. We invite you to become a part of our vision for a strong Africa in a changing world. If you trade within Africa, contact us to support you.
In banking and finance news, we start with news from rural Ghana. Studies conducted earlier this year have shown that 75% of Ghana's population is without a retail bank account. Rural banks are pioneering the way forward for banking in the country. Borimanga Rural Bank has received pledges from the Savelugu-Nanton District Assembly that it would do its utmost to support the bank. The Assembly has said that outside of the Millennium Challenge account, it would also try direct finances through the bank to boost bank deposits. Meanwhile, Ghana's Utsokan Rural Bank has achieved a profit before tax increase of 65% for its year-on-year growth for the latest financial period. A new Egyptian economic stimulus package could eventually spur 8.5% annual growth, according to the country's finance minister. The 10 billion Egyptian pound stimulus earmarked for infrastructure projects was unveiled last month, the third the government has adopted since the global financial crisis broke out last year. Egypt's gross domestic product, which grew by 4.7% in the fiscal year to June 30th, has been relatively resilient to the global crisis. In the July-October quarter, it grew by 4.9%. Still, the government will review the stimulus's effect on the economy in a few months to see if more is needed. The government introduced a first stimulus of 15 billion Egyptian pounds in October 2008 and a second within the June budget of 8 billion pounds. And once again, we're going to take another short break. Stay with us.
Africa Investor, the leading African investment magazine, is essential reading for investors in Africa, filled with the very latest in Pan-African investment and finance news. In addition, log on to africa-investor.com to find out more about our exciting capital market, infrastructure and tourism events, and our long-standing investable Africa Investor 100 Index series, which tracks over $600 billion of African equities. Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
We look at infrastructure news now. Transnet Limited, the state-owned South African transport company, will receive 200 million euros in funding from the Agence Française de Développement Group to finance equipment purchases for its new Cape Town port. Acting Transnet CEO Chris Wells made the comments to reporters in Cape Town, South Africa, yesterday. In another story, it's been confirmed that the next African Union summit, scheduled for the beginning of next year in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, will be devoted entirely to information and communication technology, notably its development prospects on the African continent. The AU officials' trip to Tunisia coincides with the holding in the country of an international forum on ICT. And in our final story today, Sasol has signed a memorandum of understanding with Gassnova SF, a Norwegian state-owned enterprise which manages government interests related to carbon capture and storage. The agreement will enable Sasol to explore the possibility of investing in the European CO2 Technology Centre Mongstad, or TCM, which is currently being built in Norway. Sasol will join the likes of Shell and Statoil ASA in the partnership with TCM, which has been established to test, verify and demonstrate technology suitable for deployment at large-scale CO2 capture facilities. It will be functional by 2011, Sasol says, and plans are underway to capture 100,000 tons of CO2 per annum. The move comes just days after Sasol was shortlisted for the first Angry Mermaid Award, an award given to the corporation with the worst record for climate change lobbying in the world. Sasol has subsequently stated its intentions to reduce its CO2 emissions by 15% by the year 2020. Well, that's it for today here on Africa Investor. For more details on these and other stories, remember to log on to www.africa-investor.com. Join us again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank.